Welcome everyone to the DC Beer Show. We are at DC Beer across social media. Mike Stein, what's in your stein this warm, breezy eve?
I am drinking a German-style dark lager from Port City, better known as Doppelbock. It's the Doppelbock from Port City Brewing Company. Brandy, my friend, my good homie, what are you drinking?
The day that we're recording this is Tuesday, April 16th. And for those who may not remember the weather that day, because this comes out on Friday, let me just tell you that it was patio weather. It was the epitome of patio weather. It was 70 degrees, perfectly breezy, no mosquito somehow still in sight. So Brandy patio weathered the shit out of some beers tonight. So I started the evening with the Blue Jacket Essex, the ESB, 4%, and I'm sharing these with other people. And then
shout out to Valley Malt,
yes,
podcast guest from last time.
And then we cracked open this lovely, and what I assume is mosaic hops in there because I tasted and smelled them, but it doesn't say it on the label. So Peabody Heights work on that. But this West Coast IPA, Zeb's Lucky Lich, Peabody Heights West Coast IPA, fucking delicious. Oh my God, it was so good. I was like, oh my God, this is death mosaics in here. And then I'm finishing the evening with the Cimmerian, the dark Czech lager from Commonwealth. This is my last can of this, my sweet, sweet baby. And speaking of Commonwealth, make sure that you all come out to the Women's Brew Culture Club event on May the 4th, which is a Star Wars Day. So we'll be there hanging out on May the 4th at Commonwealth.
Okay.
Yes.
Czech dark lager. Women's Brew Culture Club, May 4th.
Yes, sir.
At Commonwealth.
Yeah. Jake.
Come through.
What are you drinking? Probably lots of stuff.
No, Brandy, you didn't have to go that hard on a Tuesday, but I love and
I'm
I respect
allowed
that you
to
did.
do that. I'm a grown-ass woman. It is patio
you're
weather.
a grown-ass woman. Yeah.
If you wanted to do it, you had to do it. Respect.
And you know what?
Yeah.
And today was the debut, the debut of my overall shorts attire, which if you know me, you've seen me in these overall shorts. And that is all I wear during the entirety of the summer. I swear to God. So I had to celebrate them coming out of the storage, right? They had to free themselves. So I cheers them with some beers.
That's it.
Yeah, drinking. That's what we do. That's what we do best. We drink, we know things. I have here the 2021 Allagash Once Upon an Orchard. It is their cool shipped saison.
Ooh.
And then aged upon a whole bunch of peaches for about 4 months.
Millions of peaches?
Millions of peaches. Peaches
Wow.
for me because
not
I'm
for
the
free
one
though, right?
who's drinking. But not for free.
Okay.
Although actually, #sample. This comes from Allagash for free. Thank you to Alex Rosen and to Brett and the Allagash team. I did not claim this on my 2021 taxes.
Editor Jake is early for Saison Day. You are having a saison. It's a bit early for Saison Day, but pressed beer. Thank you, Allagash, for sending us pressed beer. That being said, Jake, what's your take on this saison with peaches?
It is lovely for being 2+ years old. The peach really comes across a lot more apricot-y now. It's got great delicate carbonation. It's probably at this point a bit more white wine and oak than it is peach. And if you told me it was apricot, I would have believed you, except that it's called a Once Upon an Orchard, and the label has a giant peach on it without James. But Mike, as you mentioned, Allagash Saison Day is coming up. And the day after that, 4/28, Hellbender, Isaac Bell, formerly City Brew Tours, Rauch Beer collaboration at Hellbender, Sunday, 4/28.
I'll be there.
Brandy, they didn't bring back Grampus for us. We loved the Copper Fox, the smoked malt.
We're going to show up. We're going to show out. Come through to Hellbender 4/28. Come support Ben and LT. Come support Isaac. We'll be there.
Yeah. Speaking of 420-ishes, next week, the week of 423, 4, I don't know, whatever dates are, other half is doing Superlatives Week. The like Spirit Week, where they're going to dress up as twins or like best dressed or basically like high school promy kind of shit. So they're going to do buy one get one beers. So if you come in dressed as a twin on a Friday, you'll get a buy one get one beer. And then if you wear your other half swag or other half tattoo or whatever on Saturday, you'll get, a discount on your flight beer. And so I shout out to other half for trying to bring some spirit to the city. So
Respect.
yeah.
Respect. Most likely to drink Doppelbock all year, yours truly, Michael Stein. Most likely to have smoke beer 7 nights a week, Brandy Holder. Most likely to have saison 7 nights a week, Jacob Scoopsburg. We're here for it. We love it.
I love when breweries incorporate herbs into their beers. I am such a huge fan. Rosemary is my favorite, but just any sort of like tea or any sort of like simple herb, even if it's just like a wisp. And you know who does that really well? Urban Garden. And we were asking what Urban Garden's been doing recently. I saw Imani a few months ago, and I just saw that she's doing a collab with Valor. Did you guys see that?
We saw it. It's happening. It's coming down the pike. Can't wait to get to Valor to support Urban Garden. Even more so, can't wait for Urban Garden to open up so we can support them at their HQ.
It's going to be a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so excited.
It's going to be a big to-do.
Yeah.
All right. Before Other Half Spirit Week, we've got a couple NRG events to hit up. One of them is going to be this Sunday over at Shelter. Actual German style Kosch service. Stein, who's going to be there? What are they going to be pouring?
It's happening with Freigeist Bierkultur. You might know Freigeist Beer Culture from Germany. Now, they have breweries. They have contract beers they're brewing all over the world, sometimes in Brazil, sometimes in the U.S. Sebastian Sauer is the owner of Freigeist. He had told NRG, our homies Greg Engert, Tim Liu, and Bruno Gimois, they had been planning this Kolsch service for quite some time. If you don't know, in Cologne, the home of Kosch, or Kolsch beer, as we say in the States, they keep bringing you these small servings of Kolsch, the golden style ale/lager. Tastes like a lager, fermented like an ale. Brewed in Germany, they keep serving them to you until you put your coaster over your beer and you say, "Das kaputt." You say, "Done, I'm out of here." Anyways, our friends down at Shelter are going to be serving this. They're going to do a Kosch style service, which means they're going to keep serving you beer until you say done. With Freigeist Beer Culture, we're very excited for it because it's a little sliver of Cologne, German beer culture in the district, and we love it when we have beer service from abroad brought stateside. P.S. If you're listening in Germany, Czechia, South Africa, Seoul, Korea, we're ready for some more international beer culture services.
And if you missed that one, Silver Branch is going to do their traditional service in May with their Kolsch. So fear not, you've got at least 2 chances. The other NRG event is Saturday. That's tomorrow, listeners. It's Zwanze Day, where everyone goes to Sovereign and drinks a bunch of Cantillon. I have thoughts on this. This year's Cantillon is a 2-year-old beer brewed with sea lettuce, like a seaweed, and the entire operation is somehow aged underwater. I assume that the cask is lined with some sort of pitch to make it somewhat water resistant, but that sounds kind of weird. I don't really know how that's going to shake out, but obviously all the Cantillon stuff's going to be there. Guys, is Cantillon running out of ideas? What's up with this seaweed beer aged underwater?
Don't hate on the seaweed stuff, because I have 2 bottles of seaweed gin in my house right now, and those are probably my go-to gins. So you, in fact, Jake, are the one that brought one of the ones to me. So
I was going to say, Brandy,
don't knock it.
Who's your Seaweed gin mule?
It is you. At first, it was Mike Lestort. Shout out the Lestorts, but don't knock it until you try it. Don't yuck somebody's yum. I might like it, Jake. What are your thoughts on it, Mike?
Well, I would tell you that Cantillon's running out of ideas, but maybe, okay, definitely not. Cantillon is turning to Right Proper and Black Narrows Brewing Company Seaweed saison. So I was talking to Josh Chapman, who actually the first Black Narrows beer came from Right Proper Brewing Company. Josh is currently brewing 1 day a week now at Right Proper Brewing Company. But Josh brought some sea lettuce. So it's really wild to see a tiny, a 5-barrel small batch beer be replicated at Cantillon. And if stainless steel is seaworthy, I suppose you could age some stainless steel vessels underwater. So I'm just letting it be known that perhaps Cantillon's not running out of ideas, but they are running into the good ideas in the DC beer world, and they're just replicating a Black Narrows Right Proper beer.
I mean, it's sustainable.
Mike, should we hang
brewing.
a Right Proper beer like underwater from, say, like a crab trap or like an oyster, like one of those like floating oyster?
The Marylanders would love that for sure.
Yeah, I would never out my Navy Yard, Buzzard Point, Southwest, Southeast fisher people, fishermen, fisherwomen, fisher they, them. But let's just say I know some people.
All right. We're going to talk more about Cantillon with our guest, the Belgian beer expert, Richmond's very own, the Knight, Mr. Chuck Cook. Welcome, Chuck. What are you drinking this lovely evening?
I'm having a Brasserie Cantillon Signorina. It's 2-year-old Lambic macerated with Sangiovese grapes from Italy. It's a collaboration with Monfruari, Mongo, and Cantillon. It's really, really pretty amazing.
And is that being brought in by Richmond's very own Reverie via Lime, or is that a Chuck Cook personal?
That's a personal import. You can't find. No, that's definitely one of the specials. So Reverie does a good job of bringing a lot of Cantillon to us. It doesn't last very long when it comes in, but I buy as much as I can. I can afford.
So we're going to keep it Cantillon because this drops on Friday the 19th, and the next day, the 20th, is Zwanze Day.
Yes.
Will you be participating?
Yes. I will be flying to Brussels on Thursday night, arrive on Friday morning by 7:30 a.m., go to my hotel, drop bags, go immediately to Cantillon for warm-up day, because you can't just fly in for an event like that. You got to have a warm-up day to acclimate Europe. And then I'll be there 10 a.m., probably 9 a.m. Saturday morning, because there'll probably be a big line to get into Cantillon. So I will be there for the second time. I was there in September 21 as well.
So this year's Zwanze Day release is a 2-year-old beer brewed with sea lettuce, and the casks are aged underwater on a bed of abalone.
Yeah, I've definitely seen that, and it looks very interesting. It's something different than they've ever done. I look forward to trying it. I know I've read descriptions of it being a little more salty. It's not going to be fruity like some of the other things they've done. Of course, last year they did a black pepper one. That was very different. So, yeah, I mean, every year they're coming up with something different, and they never seem to run out of ideas about something new to try.
That was going to be my next question is, so we've seen guerrilla peppers. We're now seeing sea lettuce. Are they in danger of running out of ideas?
No, they'll never run out of ideas. They'll never run out. I mean, you think about it, the number of different things they could do between fruits and berries and sea lettuce and black pepper, and you expand that, they'll never run out of ideas for Zwanze. And Zwanze now is every other year, so they only have to think about it every 2 years. So, no, they're not going to run out of ideas for that. And it's the number of things they can think of is expanded. And so I look forward to trying this year. It's going to be very interesting.
I'm going to say something inflammatory that, for the most part, I believe, and I'm not being trollish, Cantillon is overrated. Their stuff is very, very good, but it's inconsistent compared to Dre, compared to Tilquin. And it is harder to get, and that is why people like it more.
I disagree completely with that. I think it's definitely superior to a lot of stuff some of the other ones are doing. And there's some things I don't like. It's not every beer, like the one with gorilla peppers. I'm not a big pepper fan at all. And they have made a new one that's less peppery this year. I'll try it when I get there. Obviously, haven't had it yet. But there's some things you can't like every beer from a brewery. That's never going to be the case. But what they do extraordinarily well. And they never put out anything that's not really, really good to me. Nothing that's too acidic, which some other breweries will do, unfortunately. So I kind of disagree. I think Cantillon and Tilquin are really up there, very high, doing a lot of different fruited things and berry things. Some of the things are, a little crazy, but those are two great breweries. I think Cantillon's one of the best because when they really do some of the fruited and berry things, like Sang Bleu, Loup Pepe Creek, Loup Pepe Framboise, they're phenomenal. Now, is their lambic better than everybody else's lambic, their base lambic? No. Is their goose better? It's as good, but is it better than Oud Beersel or Bone or some of the other ones like that? No. They're all really, really good. Girardin is incredible. It just depends on what you're looking at. I think that where they shine is what they take that canvas and they paint something on it, and it's the fruited things and the berry things that really stand out and are never too acidic and incredibly fruity. Anyway, that's my opinion.
I think that's fair enough and well said. I am going to defer to you in this because you are the Belgian beer expert. In fact, last year you were knighted by the Belgian Brewers of the Mash Staff.
Yeah, I was. After writing about Belgian beer for 21 years, I was finally knighted. Beer writers don't get knighted quite as much as, let's say, if you own a beer bar or if you're a distributor or in a beer store, you have to have somebody nominate you. And you have to have, that person has to be a brewer, and then you have to have somebody who's a brewer to second that nomination. So I talked to Frank Boone about it, and he said, "Oh, I'm going to nominate you." And then Willem van Herrewegen, who founded DICAM, said, "I'm going to second that." So boom, I went in 100% lambic to get knighted, which I thought was pretty classic because I'm specializing in lambic the last 10 years. Not that I don't love drinking Orval and Rochefort and Westvleteren and things like that, but I really love lambic a lot too, and saison too. Really special experience, 2-day process off the Grand Place and the cathedral where they read the names of all the knights who had passed in the last year, and a procession of knights down to another building off the Grand Place, and finally when that's all over, you get to go out and actually drink. So it's a bit of a process there, and finally ends up with, at the Beer Fest in Brussels, which is really cool.
And so I want to back up because this, I believe, is going to be your 40-somethingth trip to Belgium. How did you get interested in Belgian beer? Like, how did this all start for you?
So this trip will be 44. I'm at 43 now. I was in Spain in 1991, so I'm ancient. And I was in San Sebastian. And we're drinking things like Estrella Galicia, which is decent enough Spanish lager. And I went into a place, I kind of got bored with that and said, what else can I find here? And I went to a place, and here was a cooler full of these things with these weird-looking labels. And I said, what is this? ¿Qué es ese? What was ese? And they're like, Cervezas de Belgica y Alemania. And so I started trying some of these beers that were 7, 8, 9, 10%. Found them really interesting. I'm from North Carolina. At that point, we couldn't buy a beer over 6%, so I didn't know these beers existed. So that really opened my eyes up in 91. I went back in 93, backpacked Spain and Portugal for 2 months. Every time I went to a town or a city, I'd say, "Donde está la cervecería?" Find a place like it would just be a place with a cooler full of Belgian beer. And I would taste whenever I could. That was fun. In 94, I went to Belgium for the first time. So that's how I got into Belgian beer in Spain.
And so you come back stateside. Are you looking for any of those Belgian beers, not in North Carolina because they hadn't changed the law yet, but in Virginia?
Yes, 100%. I came back and I called the Office of All About Beer, which was in Durham, North Carolina at the time. And they said, well, we have a 6% law here. You can't get these. We can drive to Virginia and get them. So I went to, I think, Richmond and Northern Virginia. And I think the first run was like $450 worth of beer to buy St. Bernardus and Chimay and triples and things like that you couldn't buy in North Carolina. I had no idea because they don't advertise that kind of thing. You don't say, oh, we can't buy these beers here. You have to actually know about it. So yeah, it was all about beer that put me on the trail to come into Virginia to buy beer, and I'd come down and come up to Virginia and stock up, buy a bunch of beer for 2 or 3 months, and I'd have enough, and I had to drive back to Virginia to get some more until they changed the law in I think 14 or 13 or whatever it was.
Yeah, and I believe there's still some southern states where there are similar laws on the book. I believe that in Alabama, you couldn't buy Chimay's Quad until very recently, like within like the last 5 or 6 years or so.
I was actually part of Prop the Cap in North Carolina early before I moved, before they got the law changed, but they did get it changed. I was actually at the Great Taste of the Midwest when the news came that they had finally changed the law to 14% from 6%. And that was a pretty fun day.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Eno has this famous quote that like only 400 people bought the Velvet Underground records, but each and every one of them who did started a band. And there's a story about Shelton Brothers bringing Cantillon to the U.S., and they're just sitting on pallets of this stuff in a Massachusetts warehouse in the mid-'90s. Like, they can't sell it. But the people who had it, and some of these are U.S. brewers, now they're starting to make Belgian-inspired beer.
That was a big trend for many years. I mean, it's slowed obviously now with the terrible rise of the hazy IPA, but I think it's the Belgian imports are starting to gain steam. Some importers have told me we're starting to do a little better than we did a year or two ago with more Belgian imports. I guess at some point people get tired of drinking hazy IPA. Thank God for that. But yeah, for sure, there's a lot of great breweries doing Belgian-inspired ales in the U.S. There's newer ones and there's older ones like Allagash and Jester King and Hill Farmstead and things like that. And that's a good thing.
We've also seen some of the Belgian brewers kind of try and attempt to move towards the U.S. market. And so, for example, I've seen a beer like Perrat, like a Belgian-style strong golden ale, or triple perhaps, that's a little bit over-hopped, being sold in the U.S. as a Belgian IPA, because that's what the quote-unquote American palate, that's what American beer drinkers want. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess hop beer is fine. I mean, all the Belgian strong ales, I'm not sure if you hop like a 10% strong ale, are the hops going to last in that? It's going to be like a barley wine, but whatever it is, it's better than a hazy IPA, for sure. And if it sells, I'm all for it. I might not buy it and drink it, but yeah, I mean, if a beer like that sells and takes away some of the hazy IPA dominance, I'm all for it.
So Orval is a beer that I think by Belgian standards is reasonably hoppy. Do you prefer it fresh with a little less of the Breck funk and a little more of like the Styrian Goldings, kind of like that classic hop, European continental hop bite to it? Or do you like it, somewhere between 6 and 18 months where it starts to get a little funky, a little more pineapple-y?
Both. I mean, I've had them both within a month or two old and up to even 20 and 30 years old. So either way is good. I mean, I can buy them off the shelf here. Like usually in Belgium, you have to pay more to buy them aged at 12 to 18 months. But I can buy them off the shelf here already at 8 to 10 months for the same price. Usually $5.99 locally, and I get a discount. I get 10% discount for buying a case of 12. Okay, that's not bad. $5.40 a bottle. I'm going to pay $6 or $7 for a hazy IPA at the local bar. So but I've been in a tasting with the brewmaster of Orval, and he had, let's say, 5 different years of Orval. And he asked us, this was probably back in about 14, he had 8 to 13. And he said, well, which one is going to be better? And a buddy of mine was like, this one because it's got more funk. And I'm like, this one because of so-and-so. And he told us, and he's the one who's retired now, it was G. Murray Rock. He said, no, you're both wrong. You never can know. He said, Brettanomyces, you never can know which one's going to be better. You think the 8 or 9 is more funky now than the 11 or 12 or vice versa. You're never going to know in 5 or 10 years what it's going to do. So I thought that was really, really interesting. And I've had Orval, like I say, at 20, 25 years before they had the centrifuge. It was really, really interesting. Preference-wise, I could drink a 3-month-old right now or an 18-month-old, no problem. I will say I'm going to Orval again this trip. And the Orval on draft, which is 4.5% alcohol and doesn't have any bread in it, it's one of the world's great session beers, 4.5%. They took the old Orval, which was just a watered-down version of the previous, of the Brett one, added more hops, bumped the alcohol a little bit, and it is only available at their Berge and nowhere else on draft, 4.5%. So you have to go there. But yeah, that's a tough question. A lot of people, the brewmaster now they have a female brewmaster, and it was the first Trappist brewer, the female brewmaster, and she likes it fresh, better than aged. But I like either way, honestly. You have a preference yourself?
I tend to like it somewhere between like 6 months to like a year and a half or so. I like a little bit more Brett. Noble hops, I like them a lot. I think they really pop in like a German or a Czech style pills. I like a little bit more Brett than I think the current brewmaster does. But to each their own.
Yeah, totally true. And for sure, she is more of a fresh fan. And they're adding the bread at bottling now. Of course, you have the centrifuge, so they have to do that. But for me, still, I could drink it at 2 or 3, 5, 10 years, whatever, and I still like it. Either way is good, let's say. There's not a bad way to drink Orval.
I will drink to that. So at this point in the interview, you've made, by my count, 3 and possibly 4 incredibly inflammatory statements about hazy IPAs. When did you first have a hazy IPA? And did you just take a sip of the first one you had and you thought, oh, this is crap?
No, I mean, I moved to Richmond from Baltimore in 2015. And at that point, I think that was when it was starting to hit around here. I think around 18 or 19, I started going, I really don't like this anymore. I really don't want this like West Coast, love a good West Coast. And I just like, I don't want this. I don't like this. It doesn't taste good. I could drink Lambic all day, drink saison all day. I don't want hazy. So about 3 or 4 years ago is when I sort of like, enough of this, no more. And ironically, I also bring them, like I've got some in the bag to bring to Europe because friends for some reason still like them. If they want fresh, I could show up with a week-old hazy IPA and somebody can pull out a 5-year-old Lambic. It's kind of crazy how that works. I'm okay with that. They can drink it. I don't have to. All right. But yeah, not a fan of hazies. I mean, they've dominated the market. They've taken away so much market share from the other beer styles that we love that's not a good thing.
So you're in Richmond, home of the Veil, the Answer, Triple Crossing. I mean, these are destination breweries down 95 from most of our DC beer listenership. Yes. Are you viewed as like an out of touch crank?
No, because those breweries, even though I don't really drink the hazies, they got a lot of good lagers. They got great pilsners and great other lagers, and they do great stouts and sometimes saisons. In their case, they do West Coast. So it's not all about hazies. There's a lot of hazies at those breweries for sure, but there's other things to drink too. Thank God.
All right. So you're going to Belgium, and you're going to be there for Zwanze Day. You're also going to be there for the Tour de Goose.
Yes. That's an open house at most of the lambic breweries and blenderies in Belgium. I say most. Cantillon's not a part of it. Driefontein not a part of it anymore. Some of them are, but most of them, let's say 3/4 of them, are open for that. And you go and they'll have their best lambics, and they'll put a special new beers on, like Beer Soul and Bone. Everybody will have 20 and 25 beers drinking bottle or on draft. And you can either drive to those places or catch a train. To some of them you can go, or they actually have Horal runs buses. They sold out. All the buses that run to around the different places Tour de Goods. Now you can't do all of them. You can do maybe 4 or 5. That's sold out. So it is an open house at most of the lambic breweries and blenderies in Belgium. It only happens once every 2 years. It used to be odd number years. Now the pandemic kind of messed it up now. I did 09, 13, 15, 17, 19, 22. Now it's going to be 24. And as long as something else doesn't change that, it'll continue on even numbered years.
So because I'm an American chauvinist, I'm going to end the interview with this question. That's, what are some of the U.S. breweries that are doing spontaneous fermentation, cool ships, that are doing this well?
Allagash and Jester King, some of the older ones, have been doing it for many, many years. Mieza at Alexandria now is doing some really interesting stuff as well. And we've talked about that before. I mean, good stuff there. But between those two, I think even Russian River's doing some spontaneous stuff too. Some not as well as others. It's kind of hit or miss. It's hard to brew a spontaneous beer. And a lot of American brewers have found that out. You can't just copy Belgium. You can't just take a yeast strain from a Cantillon bottle and try to make a beer out of it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
No, I could think of at least 2 breweries inside the Beltway that have cool ships that just they're mothballed or they're horizontal lagering tanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Chuck. Safe travels. Thanks. Bring us back something next.
Thanks. Sounds good. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chuck. Have fun. All right, folks. Who wants to wrap it up over here? Parting thoughts, parting shots.
I'm so freaking jazzed about May. I know it's still April, so don't hate on me right now. But May, we're going to have our 100th episode of the DC Beer Show. I'm so jazzed about it. Our members get to come. It's going to be a member appreciation night. Our producer is going to fly in from Tennessee because he left us, whatever. None of us are bitter about it. It's fine. And the Women's Brew Culture Club is that weekend. And our DC Beer Share for the month is that same weekend. We're like crushing the Star Wars weekend for all of our lovely, beloved nerds and beer nerds. So I genuinely hope that all of you come out. And this Saturday, actually, start celebrating with us because Pink Boots beer release is this Saturday at Dynasty. It's a Pilsner, pink Technicolor boots. So I really hope to start seeing more and more folks, more women, more non-binary, just more people in general because, you know, my friend Mark, owner of Streetcar 82, he always reminds me that beer is for everyone and beer brings the community together. So cheers.
That's very well said, Brandy. Also, I want to shout you out for helping people tell their stories on Instagram. It's just been pretty freaking awesome. You got the pictures, the words, watching the Juicy Beer community. It's been pretty cool. The weekend after Cinco de Mayo and May the 4th is the Maryland Craft Brewers Fest. Brewers could use your support, especially these Baltimore breweries, because the Baltimore Beltway is going to be incomplete for the foreseeable future. So go out there,
Love you guys.
please support.
Yeah, I'll just say, as a person with diabetes, a PWD, technically, I'm covered under the Americans with Disabilities Act, the way that deaf folks, hearing impaired folks are. Yeah, shout out to Mark at Streetcar 82. But please come see us for our May bottle share at Other Half. To do that, you need to join us. It's patreon.com/DC Beer, and you'll become a member. A measly $5 a month will buy you membership, and you will have way more than $5 worth of beer contributed. You know, we are artists. You are our support system. Come support us on Patreon, patreon.com/DC Beer. We'd love to do more reporting. We'd love to podcast. We'll keep it going. We love you. Thanks to all our Patreon members right now. Come join them. We can't wait to see y'all in April and in May.
Bye. Cheers, guys.
Bye, everybody. Tip big, just praxis.
Why did you leave that to the end? That was a gem, Jake.
Wow, you led with
You
that.
just you ended with it and didn't let anyone laugh about it.
No, just
I hope
slide that.
I
in
hope
the
folks listen to the end for that one. Genuinely.